weekend was fairly busy. Okay, Monday, just remember to
It's just not 22.
Yeah, Monday came, it's not everything.
You don't put them down to that.
Yeah, finally, so yeah. Now we can sit here. So yeah, we weren't working on that item, but
You know where I'd really go with Valley? It would be
Good.
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 I've seen some
You're gonna have to come down to fishing.
great. The water looks
yeah, I've never seen it.
I have a link. Oh, like
I go there and the water was pretty clear. I mean, Mexico was pretty clear in Mexico. It was clear there, like the reefs and everything. Stuff was white that we didn't see in Mexico, like sharks and things like that. Some sharks and like turtles everywhere.
oh
Yeah. Here's diving with them all around them.
Yeah.
The turtles and the sharks we didn't see. So
I mean, I have three bedrooms.
they're all deep dives there because as soon as you get off the shore, it drops pretty quickly. Mexico, you can go for a good dive. But there,
yeah. 100 feet. You can't really go over 200, right?
so that's advanced. My certification is advanced, so if you want to so we did go to 12.
Okay.
Wow.
She's actually, yeah, she's
Pretty deep.
Get pretty dark. Yeah.
she's
We get down to the lakes and you'll see it. So, I read it's only 1 minute.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, okay. They have the areas, the ports, and
got a big crowd in there, so.
A lot of enthusiasm. Okay. Send you a visual copy of this one. Thank you.
I gotta make sure you got this here, point towards you so that everybody can hear you.
And do a microphone.
There you go.
Oh,
Get it from both sides.
Hey, how you doing, Carlos?
Morning.
Nice to meet you.
Kevin, what's up, Sean?
Well, we'll go ahead and get started. Good morning, everybody. I would ask, friendly reminder, everybody to speak directly into the microphone, so that we can pick up everybody's comments. It helps with preparing the minutes. If you speak directly into the microphone, our folks can hear you clearly, so that's much appreciated if you could do that. Thank you. So welcome, and I think the first order of business is anybody have any comments or suggestions on the minutes that were provided to you? Okay, hearing none, move on to the second item. Welcome Roberto to the as a new board member and board manager. Welcome.
Thank you.
We have some discussion items here. I know Brandon is underway, and he has an item in the board packet concerning swapping meeting dates. So I'm going to wait for him to arrive and comment on that.
Brandon's not coming.
Brandon is not coming?
Brandon's out of town.
Okay. Well, let's just say that the handout in your board packet kind of speaks for itself. The idea is that hopefully this will be the last meeting of board managers. This position on the calendar in the future will switch to the construction committee. That needs to be worked out a little bit with Brandon, but I think that's what the goal is. So we'll let his comment stand as is. We'll move on. Also provided for you is a copy of the final budget that was approved by the Board of Trustees at the last meeting. If you have any questions about the budget, feel free to ask myself or Joan. If you ask me, I may need you to Joan anyway, so feel free to do that. As a point of information, we will be closed on the 9th, or Columbus Day. The next Board of Trustees meeting is on the 11th, which will be Wednesday of October. So information item. And with that, I'm going to pass it on to Adam to talk about what's going on with water resources. Thanks, Adam.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and bring up the PowerPoint on drought. Can you all hear me okay?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, all right. So just if you go back to that last slide. As of the beginning of September, this was a picture of Lake Dunlap, Canyon Lake. You can see that it is dropping fast. Need to continue to do those rain dances because we really need it. It's going to take a while to recover from this. Just the most recent drought map of the continental U.S. You can see that down south here in Texas and Louisiana, that we are definitely suffering from drought more so than the rest of the United States. This is a more recent drought map of Texas, and you can see that exceptional drought continues to increase in several of these different basins, and definitely in the Guadalupe Basin, which is the one that we're really concerned about. And here's a close-up of the intensity of drought by county around Guadalupe County, Gonzales County, Bexar County, Comal, East Caldwell, all the different counties that were essentially affected by the drought. Continues to increase. This is the precipitation at the San Antonio International Airport. I could not update it through this week because their website was down, so it's just been updated through August 31st. And again, we're really behind on rain that we need, which is no news to any of us. And then here's the historical lake level. As you probably saw in the news, Canyon Lake dropped below the lowest point that was recorded in 2009. And now it's lower than it was back in 1965 when they were filling the lake up is basically where we're headed. As of yesterday, these are the lake levels. So we were at 890.96 mean sea level. When we get down to that 890 level, we'll be notified that we're going to be in stage 2, moderate conditions. GBRA will send that notification to us, and in turn we'll send it to you all. GBRA's drought plan, we mirror their drought plans, so basically we are going to ask our member entities to try to reduce their average flow by 10% reduction. Now, when I talk to GBRA about this, what does it mean by average flow? And the way that they look at it is what the average flow was in the previous year for that month. So if we reach this 10% reduction rate, then we'll have to take a look at last year, what the flow was, and try to achieve a 10% reduction. And then just comparing this year to 2009, because 2009 was when the lake level dropped the lowest. We've broken that record this year, and so again, as of September 26th, we were at 890.96 mean sea level. By this time in 2009, they were receiving rain and they were on the uphill trend. So we need to continue to pray for rain. And that's it for the drought precipitation report.
I'd like to have an ask for this item, not be called water resources, but be called drought, because that's basically what you're going over. So if you could change that to drought to be more appropriate. I do see item 6, you have your water and your rights, which is important. But water resources, I look at this, you just went over drought.
We'll take your suggestion under advisement.
You'll say that presumably that's going to be drought forever. It's not. I mean, water resource can be from a number of different sources.
Correct.
So yeah, calling it drought is kind of fine. This is my opinion, but
Yeah, I mean, but pretty much every meeting we've had is basically precipitation and drought. And item 6 is basically talking about the water and where the water's at, the resources and stuff. So just a thought.
Okay, thank you. Adam, let's move on to water quality and taste of odor.
Yeah, so as we discussed in previous meetings, Kingman Regional began sampling for geosmin and MIB. As we discovered this last spring, we believe that MIB was what caused the taste and odor issues. When we had taste and odor issues, that's when the MIB spiked, that you can see in this graph. And as we continue to monitor, which we're sampling a couple times a week, you can see that the MIB levels are staying down there. And that's pretty much it. TCQ has been in contact with me over this, and I did receive an email just yesterday on what the MIB and geosmin levels were, so we've been in contact with them on that. Any questions or comments out of this?
Adam, reason I was in contact by TCQ months ago regarding the taste and odor, and we've answered the questions so far, but they occasionally give us a call and want to know the status of that. Could you email this report to me, Christopher Longford at Green Valley?
I can.
It shows that.
And I also, just this morning I emailed, I think it's Deshaun Blake, who is kind of handling all of that.
Okay.
I emailed her this morning and I sent her that.
Yeah, I don't, and I can't tell you this morning, if we continue to have any calls. I think they've gone away, but I can't verify that. Well, I'll let you know, but what we're trying to do is answer their questions, that through our water, through we get through CRWA, y'all are tracking it, we're tracking it, and this growth graph shows that verifies that we are tracking that. And hopefully this will go away pretty quick, but they also start asking questions about the dam next door. Is it repaired? Is it online? Or what's going on with that? So we're reaching out to CRWA to get an official statement from them to pass on to TCQ. Just want to mention what we're doing on our side. But this graph, we certainly have we'll include that with our report back to them, if that's okay with you.
You bet, I'll send that, you want me to send it to you and,
Christopher Longmore, or just me, and I'll get it to Chris.
okay.
Happy to provide it to you, Pat. This graph is part of a spreadsheet that we keep updating all the time. The graph is updated automatically. Happy to do that for you. It's a spreadsheet, that way we will have not only the graph, but the data itself.
Yeah, we show them that we have proof of our statement.
Right. Happy to do that. As a point of information, we'll get to this topic a little bit more later, but in terms of one of the things we're looking at, upgrading the treatment capacity plant to 14.4, one of the things we're looking at is using something like granulated activated carbon, referred to as GAP, to help with taste order.
Just since Pat mentioned it earlier, that John and I met with GBRA this last week, and they gave us an update on what's going on with the lake. So far, they've gained 4, probably close to 5 feet this week in the lake. They're also going to be testing the gates here real soon, in the next week or so, where the lake's going to be full enough for them to drop the gate, not fully drop them, but just to test them out, to drop them, bring them back up. And currently they're also taking out that temporary pump station that they put in the canal. That's happening right now.
Good progress.
That's right here, Lake Dunlap.
I'd have to say, I mean, this is just my opinion, but that was a pretty quick turnaround time from when the gates fell to now. I just can't believe that they've done it so
Both
quickly.
engineering wise and construction wise, I think they've made good progress.
Yeah.
It's a big task.
Just as a point of information on this graph up here, the reason that the line is a bit more busy on the right side as compared to the left side is that we changed our sample frequency. We're doing it twice per week now.
Yeah, yes, that's right. Twice a week.
Any other questions? If anybody's interested in this graph, the spreadsheet we're happy to provide it to you, just let Adam know and we're happy to send it to you. Okay, why don't we move on to the treated water production update, and we'll turn over to David.
So, here they done that so far this month. We've had a high of 14.281 million gallons through the plant, low of 11.395. But 21 out of the last 27 days, we've been above 13.3 going through these filters. So we do have them working a lot better, but anyhow, we're making progress. Everything else is running pretty smoothly here. Out at Well Branch, high out there has been 12.196 million a day, low of 7.804. We do still have the one well down, well 1. They're actually supposed to have showed up yesterday with the materials. I was up there around right afternoon yesterday and they hadn't showed up with this stuff, but they had installed the pump and stuff back in that well there about a month ago, and it vibrated real bad. Well, they pulled it out, went back in and checked, and 7 of the shafts had a bend in them. That was after they went through and repaired, so I don't know. They hadn't determined if it was the new shafts that had been replaced or old, but something that happened during shipment somewhere. So anyhow, everything's back together. They were ready to start installing it again yesterday, so that'll give us a little more additional water we can produce out there. But we're keeping up good now everywhere. We're still producing a lot of water, but we have water in all the tanks, so usage just went down a little bit. Other than that, everything else is running pretty smooth out there. Hayes Caldwell, the hive this month is 3.498, so almost 3.5 MGD out of that plant. Low was 2.212. Over there, we had 2 days, we had some issues with some fall trailer. They had people down here immediately. They got here the evening of the first day. By the next morning, we had it resolved. It was on one side of half of the trailer, had some more valves that were sticking in its position. We couldn't get to it where it was at. They sent a really small person down there, was able to get off in there and fix it. But other than that, the plant's doing pretty good. We are having some issues with one of the coke stages on keeping it, pinned and stuff. So we're trying to keep the pressure off of that one, keep the pressure lower on that one compared to the other two. Far as we're getting close to getting ready to go out for bids on the tank for the nuclear well. I went and paid for the permits and stuff the other day over there, so we're going to be issued Denver pretty quick. The electrical has been moved next door. We still got the spectrum cable that has to be moved, but they're telling me they're going to do that here in the next couple of weeks. We're getting the meters moved out of the easement that was over onto the other side of Max's. Justin, they're supposed to be finishing that up today. I need to get with you to see which meter to move, because he has 2. And one is moving one of them, so I don't know what you want to do with the other one, or which one you want to move.
Will we not be using the other one?
And the deal we made out was just lay the line and put 1 meter over there, so I don't know what you want to do with the other ones. That's where we're at on that right now. Anybody got any questions?
Could you repeat the high and low of Hayes Caldwell?
Hayes Caldwell, high was 3.498,
Okay, and low?
low was 2.212.
Thank you.
And we're averaging, a little over 1 million a day through the fall trailer. We could push a little bit more, but that's kind of making it where it's all running smoothly.
David, let me ask you a question. How are we doing on reservoir tank levels around the system?
We're good everywhere. We got water everywhere. No problem keeping up right now.
Thank you. Anybody have any other questions for David?
In all the years I've been involved in Green Valley, it's been out there with the Hayes Caldwell plant.
Well, I wonder after this meeting, we're right.
I've never known, I didn't see it. I can't believe all these years I've never been over there, just realized that.
How many times you want to go, let them know.
I don't know what you're expecting, but the expectation should be low.
It's okay.
It's not as big as Wolf's Ranch.
It's making water though. It's better than not.
Other questions? Okay, why don't we move on to water rights and water usage? I know this is a topic of interest for most of you, so I'm going to turn over to Adam. He's going to walk you through it, and you may have questions, so we'll try to address those as we can. Thank you. Adam?
Page 1 here is just an inventory of the water that we have at Lake Dunlap and Wells Ranch. This report is from January through August 31st. Go ahead.
By the way, this should all be in your report. I'm sorry for that.
Yeah. So here is just also how much each entity or each utility has in acre feet currently, and the the chart below it there is each one of the water rights that we have, or the water leases that we have, and how much we've used of each one, and how much is remaining for the year. Here we have usage by entity in the table above. How much of the contracts have been used in the center there, and how much is available. And below is a graph that just is a comparison between 2022 and 2023, and what the trending is on 23. Between Lake Dunlap and Wells Ranch, it appears with this trending that we are going to land somewhere in the same area in December that we did last year on usage. This is a breakdown on the top table of the water rights and leases that we have here at Lake Dunlap, what we've used of each one through August 31st, and what is remaining in each one. And then below we have the different wells, what we've used out of those wells, and what's remaining. And then we also have our total groundwater that we've used and what's remaining for 2023. Here is Lake Dunlap itself on the usage that we've had out of Lake Dunlap, and you can see that we've utilized Dunlap more this year than we did in 2023. As a matter of fact, the way the trend is going, this is the most we've ever produced out of Lake Dunlap in any other year in the history of CRWA. This is the daily account of the usage, and you can see that I have the average contract amount, which is the gray dotted line in the middle. That's if everyone were to take their contract amount, that's where it would land. And then the green dotted line up at the top is the 14.4 million gallons a day. That's the plant capacity. You can see that we've had a few times this year where we've reached or close to reach that plant capacity. These numbers here are based off of the permeate that's come off of the filters. This here is the Wells Ranch trend. We have not utilized Wells Ranch as much this year as we did last year. You can see that the 2023 trend is so far considerably below the 2022 trend. And then there's the daily account. And then the gray dotted line is the contract amount. The contract amount is also the rating for the I shouldn't say the rating, but it is what the contract says is the plant capacity. And then we added this, we added the next couple of charts to this report so that we can see how we're tracking with our permits. So this one right here is the Guadalupe Carrizo permit, and it's a comparison of last year to this year, and you can see that we're not using as much out of this one as we did last year. This one here is the Guadalupe County Wilcox. We're using more water this year than we did last year out of the Wilcox. And then this one here is the Gonzales County Carrizo wells, and we're using considerably less out of there than we did last year. And you can see the trending about where we're going to end up towards the end of the year.
Is it lower because of the increased use here at Dunlap?
Yes.
Yes.
And we're running the Wilcox wells this year.
Okay.
But is it now also lower because you're not using, you get one well, one has been offline for a while,
in January.
Yeah, so I mean, that's another reason you're not using.
No, the primary reason I work to is because of the demand, trying to achieve satisfy the demand out of Lake
But
Dunn.
it doesn't make sense to use Lake Donald, but we're in a drought situation. We've been told by the staff that's volunteered, we're using drought water, we're using water that's firm, which is groundwater. I do know there's some problems with operation with the wells. It makes sense to me that everyone who has groundwater that's firm and there's a pending drought, you would use groundwater, opposed to surface water.
Well, Alberto,
I'm fine with that, John. I don't need a comment. I'm just saying you're making a statement. I'm not asking for rebuttal.
it's, we're following along with the requirements for meeting with the GRA, in close contact with them, and it's far cheaper to cruise water at Lake Dunn than it is in Gulf Ranch.
Again, I didn't need a rebuttal, but thank you, John. I think
Any
it's
other
good.
comments on that?
Just glad we have remained capacity.
Oh, absolutely. Got tremendous.
Even as long as we've had it, well, it's been a struggle to get done and running, but appears like it's a promoter on them, so that's important.
That's right.
I know last year, a little different story, we learned from that, moved forward, made some changes, and I think it's worked.
We're not stressing the well too hard, we're not stressing the plant too hard, so it's going along pretty well.
I was more concerned about the big shafts in the well, I didn't see it. Because I grew up in machine shops, that's why I would go that.
Any other comments?
I'm going to move on to Case Caldwell.
Sure.
So here is the Hayes Caldwell. We have on the first page here the water inventory. We also have a difference between contract and raw water usage. So if you look on the left-hand side, we have the CRWA water inventory, then we have also raw water rights by others. Needed to separate that, and so you can see that our annual total raw water that exists today is 2,898.16 acre feet. We've used of that 65%, and what hasn't been used is 35%. So when you go to the raw water usage, the annual contract on raw water is 2,908. It's interesting, there is 10 acre feet that is contracted underneath Martindale that is not in our raw water supply. So I don't know the history behind that. I've talked to Martindale about it. They don't know the history behind it either. But anyway, that was the underneath the contract. We've utilized 61% of the contract. What has not been used thus far is 39%. And then down below on the table there, or the graph, we have the different water rights and leases that we have out of Hayes Caldwell, what's been used through August 31st, and what is available. And then here, just like Lake Dunlop and Wolf Ranch, is just an overview and a comparison between 2022 and 2023 and the water trending. And 23 is just slightly below what 22 was. So we're anticipating that we're going to end up close to the same as what we did in 2022. That red dotted line is our raw water that we have. So you can see that we're coming pretty close. Here is a GBRA water usage. And you can see that for the last 3 months we've utilized the allotment that we have with GBRA even a little bit more than what GBRA's allotment would be. So 62% use of GBRA with 33% available. This is a breakdown of treated water that was delivered in the first part of the table there, that was delivered to each entity. And then I added City of San Marcos because someday they will be a part of this report. So just know that they've been added in there. And then below you can see the percentage usage each month from each utility. And then the next table. And this right here is the overall usage and how much each entity has used total for the year when you look at the total. And then the next slide down has it in a summary form where through August 31st, this is what each utility has used, and the percentages. And so you can just tie that in with, So purchased water versus contract, this is the water that was treated and delivered to them. And then Martindale Cummings Wright, I also made a note on there because they have utilized 1 acre foot a month on that right to keep it alive.
Say, Adam, at one time, maybe last month or months, I don't know from previous meetings, but at one time when the case called us, I was concerned about the take point in the river that had dropped to the degree we're concerned about losing our take point. Is that true, or am I bringing that?
The take point didn't, though. There's very little water over the top of the take point because of the low flow.
Right.
And we also have an auxiliary emergency pump that we put in there back in 2019 when the gates fell. We just went through and recertified that pump with TCEQ so that we can utilize that auxiliary pump in case that our raw water intake suffers.
As that level of raw water is improved at all, or is it? What made you think of is what we're talking about on the Lake Dunn? Lake Dunn up here in our drought condition GRA. Has it improved, or is it dropping just like Canyon Lake is, or is it fluctuating as much?
You know, and I need to add that to the report, is the flow coming out of the springs there. And if anything at all, coming from the Blanco River, because they tie in right before the plant.
Right.
I don't think the Blanco River's flowing right now, is it?
Not above ground. So the San Marcos River is down about 18 inches from where it normally runs at, which leaves us about 18 inches above the intake streams. We haven't had any issues with the pump for it pumping. Put a different one in there 3-4 years ago, and it's worked perfect all along. What we have is algae grows on them screens.
Yeah.
And we're having to clean about once a month over there. It'll get a foot long and it just gets a mat of mud in it. And it won't it can't suck the water through. So as soon as it starts dropping down, we'll go in and dive and clean it again. Perfect resting bench for the floaters on the weekends. They sit there about 18 inch water and drink beer all weekend.
That should help the flow, right?
It does. It helps the floaters tremendously there.
Housing really is. I'm just curious. I know y'all talked about it in the past. I just wanted to know if the status has improved or stayed the same, and they're changing a lot.
As far as the pumping water, it hasn't affected us. Used to, it would affect us big time, but we changed this, put a different pump in there that works a lot better now.
Adam, you're aware of the situation with the overage and issues we're trying to address at Hayes Caldwell. How quickly can you give us current information? This is a month behind. How quickly can we get current information?
I can get some current information for anybody who asks. Up to
I'm asking, I guess.
up to yesterday.
That's
You know, each day we get updates from the SCADA, so I could get up-to-date information then.
And the reasoning is, I think, updated information, we all are informed with regards to what's being used and what's not being used. So we come together and we decide, as a group, what the next move is. At least we all are aware. Right now, we're looking at information, as you can tell, is a month behind.
Yeah,
And
I
we
don't,
continue the same way, when we presume by December, we get November's reading, and it's too late for us to do anything. So it's best that we're all informed, at least the members of today's call, and I'm speaking on behalf of all the members. The more information we have, the easier it is to resolve these issues.
So Humberto, for the raw water coming out of San Marcos River, as of this morning, I have 811,337 gallons a day that I can pump each day out of the river for the rest of the year. So, on the days that we're below the 2.8, that gives us additional water. So it looks like we're going to be all right this year on maybe to the end of the year, but just to give you that information right quick here.
And I appreciate that. I'm more concerned with the amount of water that's being used by the entity, so we all understand, we're all informed.
Sure.
So we come together and we have our meetings, we can see that it's current information as opposed to a month behind. Because a month behind, we're all speculating. What is that number going to be? What is it going to be?
I don't have a problem providing information. If you don't mind sending me an email and just ask me for it.
I'm asking you, why do we send an email?
Just so that I can remember to send it to
Well,
you.
I think we have notes and it's videotaping. It seems to me like I'm asking. I mean, Justin, would you like that information? Would you like that information, Kenny?
Doesn't make a bit of difference.
So, I mean, why do you need an email? I thought the board of managers for us to hear talk and work through issues. It seems to me like I have to jump over hoops, but if that's a position you want to take, that's fine. We have the board of trustees.
I don't know why that's a problem, but I'll go ahead and send you the information.
I see it as a problem because I'm asking. I'm a board member of this board. We've got minutes, we've got a videotape. I'm asking. Unless that's a new procedure that I'm aware of, but
All right, I'll send you the information.
please send it to all entities.
So when we decide to switch the construction committee meeting with the current schedule of board manager meeting, you'll get the most current update that's available. So there shouldn't be a problem going forward. It requires Adam to spend some extra time to prepare that kind of information for you, because his schedule's pretty busy already doing lots of things.
But I
He
appreciate
and I will talk together to figure out when we can get this accomplished.
I appreciate that, John, but the issue at hand is that we have an issue currently at Hayes Caldwell. And I'm sure you keep me aware of it, because nothing has been done. My point is, the more information we have, the better we can have our discussions. That's all I'm asking for. And I'm glad we have these meetings after the construction committees and have the most updated information. That's all I'm asking. Can we get that information today?
Well, I don't know if we're going to get the information today for you, but we'll work on it and get it out to you as soon as we can.
Okay, well,
We have other meetings that we're working on. We
Then-
have a lot of projects we're working on.
when
We will provide you.
can we expect to get this information?
I'm sorry.
When can we expect to get this information?
We're going to put a slide on this,
We'll let you know.
to hear this thing, anything else like sidebar.
And I agree with you, but I think it's important that some hear what's going on.
Yeah, agreed, but I mean, this thing is, it can be sidebar.
Yeah.
But before we go there, I want a commitment from the staff when we can get this, because if it's not going to be done in a timely fashion, then it gets to the board issue.
Are there other questions?
Again, I want a commitment, John, when can you get this done?
I'm not going to commit anything until I have confer with staff and look at their schedules and see. what
Okay,
we
it's
can
going to be a
get
board
done.
issue, it'll be a board issue. Thank you for your comments.
I have one more comment. David, Adam said that second river intake was sent to TCQ as an emergency. Are we not using it?
Yes, we're using it. We actually have it certified now as a official take point, not just an emergency now.
I was making sure we weren't operating in kind of emergency condition or anything
No.
like that.
So I guess there was a time frame on how long we could leave it as an emergency or something.
Yeah, and I talked to TCQ about that, and they're like, well, we might as well just certify it as an official meter, the meter that is.
Okay.
It's the same take point because it's right there by the original take point.
I just want to make sure, I mean, you said it was emergency, I just want to make sure if we were operating in kind of an emergency condition according to TCQ or anything like that. So,
No, it's
Okay.
it's officially certified.
cool, thank you.
We actually have it listed as just a backup.
Right.
That was that listed, so.
Okay, any other questions? Let's move on. Let's talk about Lake Dunlap and the interviews that we just completed. Evan?
Yes, so we did interviews for engineering firms September September 25th. We interviewed Garber, we interviewed STV, we interviewed Ardura, and Black and Beach. Currently, the selection committee is reviewing the different presentations that the engineering firms gave, and we should have a recommendation to go to the construction committee.
We're hoping to have that by
Yeah.
that time, yes. That's our objective.
So that's where we're at with that.
Thank you, Adam. Next, on the Hayes Caldwell mill ring replacement startup, I've sent a service agreement to Ardura for review and signature, and I'm waiting to hear back if there's any comments or changes from UA Sun on that. The contract amount will be $110,528. Assuming they sign it here, then we'll present it to the board of trustees for ratification. Any questions on that? Okay. On the Hayes Caldwell Water Treatment Plant improvements outside the filter building, I'm going to turn it over to Art. Would you like to come on up? Sure. Would you hand him the microphone? Thank you.
Good morning. Just to give a quick update, we're pending permit approvals from Caldwell County. We've talked to them. We're not anticipating any further comments, so we're hoping to get those permits in hand fairly quickly. We did receive the driveway permit on the 15th, and the city of San Marcos, we've been in discussions with them as well. They're pending approval from Caldwell County, so once we get the approval from them, we'll get the permits from the city. They are also reviewing our watershed protection plan, so that's pending as well. Once we receive all the approvals, then the Water Development Board will issue their approval as well. As far as the ozone study, that's an internal review, so we're wrapping that one up. And then as John mentioned earlier about the membrane replacement, we're going to be scheduling a kickoff meeting for that and get started on that work. Those are all the updates I have at this point.
Byron, and again, I'm going to state, and please stay here while I'm talking about this. I appreciate everybody's cooperation, but this investment by county line and others is very important, specifically for Hayes Caldwell. Byron, with regards to the grant, initial grant that we sent, have we heard anything yet? Is there any? I'm trying to read the question.
No, so we're currently working on the application document, and we're putting that together, and then once that's complete, then we'll probably send that over to John, and then...
No, what I'm saying is the first grant we asked for. That was...
No, that's still pending. We haven't heard anything. That's why we're repackaging
Yeah.
it.
So we haven't heard anything from that, you understand?
Yes, sir.
Generators will be issued out first, and there'll be some... Okay. There's nothing else.
Byron, can I ask you a question? Do you have an estimate as to when we'll see the outcome of your best study on ozone? We just look for time on that, you know?
I do not have an answer for that right now, but I can get one for you later today.
Thank you.
Get that for you.
Appreciate that. I just got word that UA had sent to us the signed service agreement, so I'll go ahead and sign that and send it back. That just came in this morning. Thank you.
And with regards to additional $5 million, it's my understanding we need $5 million to complete what we stated here. What was the thought process prior with regards to getting the group together to decide whether we need to engineer some solution here, cut some stuff out, or what is your take on this?
For the phase one,
Yes.
we're moving forward with the ground storage tank and the piping.
Is the overall project? Is that
Sorry?
the overall project? It's my understanding the overall project is $5 million under, and we need to come up with, hence the grant that you spoke about. My question to you is, has there been any thought from Adora With regards to reducing the scope of reducing or eliminating something, I'm not putting it on your back, I'm just thinking, have y'all thought outside the box?
Yes, I know we've been coordinating with David and discussing that, and we can provide an update on that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Let's talk about the generators. David, you just had one brief comment on that, right?
Yeah, we have mitigation set up November the 2nd with everybody to try to move forward with the settlement or whatever we come up with on the generator project.
Thank you. Byron, thank you for, next we're going to talk about the transmission line improvement projects. Let me just preface that, coming up. Interestingly enough, we finished one project we thought would come in last. The $6 million project, that's basically wrapped up. So David, why don't you talk about what's still going on with these other projects?
All right, on the I-10 Santa Clara School Transmission Main Project, TxDOT, we're currently working on a supplemental agreement to get everything pulled together for the portion of the contract that's going to be performed by TxDOT and their contractor, and then revisions to our contract with our contractor to square everything up. TxDOT had requested some additional information for the agreement. I provided that on Monday. I anticipate we'll have that final draft agreement for everybody's review by the end of this week. So my goal is to have, if we do get that by the end of the week, have that ready for construction committee and board of trustees coming up.
Thank you for the board package for construction committee using cloud.
Correct.
Black Friday by the latest.
So I'll provide you an update here before then, whether or not it'll be ready.
Is there anything that we're rolling back on that they need? Or
No, like I said, they asked for some additional clarifications on the cost estimate that we provided, so I provided that on Monday. I got an email this morning that's been forwarded to TxDOT for their final review, so like I said, hopefully we'll get the full agreement package by the end of this week, and then we'll be ready for presenting that to the committee, construction committee and board of trustees.
okay,
But I'll keep you updated on that.
Thank you. Go ahead.
In the meantime, on that project, we've been reviewing contractor submittals. We provided our response back to the contractor on Monday as well. So we're still moving forward on that portion of it. So the idea is as soon as the agreements are finalized, we can get out in the field and start working on the project. Any questions on that project?
David, is there anything about submittals that you would need to look at or review?
He's been
We've been
forwarding.
coordinating with David on that.
Good, thank you.
Do you think we're still good on prices? I mean, from what they bid on everything, or
Yeah.
have they said anything?
No, and we've been going through, part of this exercise with TxDOT and Weber and our contractors, trying to firm up all those costs and who's doing what, and so, so far everything's good on that.
Go ahead. Thank you.
On the F-1518 project, that project was awarded by the Board of Trustees last month. We're working with the contractor now to pull together the final contract documents. We should have all of that completed this week. Once that's complete, we'll set up a pre-construction meeting. I anticipate, I don't know if it'll happen next week, trying to get everything together, but for sure by the week of October 9th.
October 11th is our board of trustees meeting. Do you think we can have the contract documents ready for our president to sign?
Yes, I'll have that for you this week.
Thank you. Okay, continue, please.
On the asset management GIS update, we have been working, we had met with staff a few weeks back with Adam, and he got us all of the remaining as-built information we were requesting. So we're getting that input into the GIS system. I hope to have a draft of all that transmission main, Wells Ranch piping, and treatment plant improvements ready for kind of a first review by staff. We do have some questions on some of the alignments and kind of where especially the Wells Ranch well field piping so we'll get with you guys on that. But we should have that ready here in the next week or two for that review. In the meantime, on the data collection for the transmission mains on this side of the river, I prepared a supplemental agreement for staff review. Staff has that. And so as soon as that's ready to go, we'll have a kind of a kickoff meeting on that and kind of do the trade-off of the Canton Regional GPS equipment and get a schedule and get that going. So we have to answer any questions on it.
David, did that price come in about what you quoted the first time go around?
So the original quote on that, getting KFW to do the full survey and everything was $73,000. I think what we were coming in at for this portion of it was right around 40.
Okay. And that was what, excluding the purchase of the equipment?
Correct. Yeah. So we're planning on using Canton Regional equipment to perform the data collection. So. No other questions on the design standards and specifications? We met with staff last Monday to go over the first review of what we had prepared. So we're working internally on updates to the detail and then putting a full detailed specification package together. Hope to have that ready here in the next couple of weeks for another review.
Any questions for David?
Thank you.
Richard, I know this is not here, but David, would you like to state very briefly about the pipeline alignment down on, I guess we're calling it now, the Hayes Caldwell pipeline?
Yeah, we're looking at some alternate routes to bring the pipeline around to get it over to Martindale and to county line. I think I've come up with a pretty good option. I need to look at it a little closer and check into it and see on some routings.
Any questions from anybody on that?
I do know, again, I apologize if I'm stepping on people's toes for time. This is important to us. I do know that Brandon is going to take the lead on this, and there was going to be a meeting. And so I guess my question to you, my understanding the meeting will be October, probably first week of October. Will you have some information for Brandon at that point with regards to what the thought process is about this lineup?
I think I can answer the question. Brandon has asked us to hold off on scheduling a meeting until he directs the meeting date himself. So I'm waiting to hear from Brandon.
So my question again is, will there's a meeting with Brandon, whenever it is, will there be information?
Yes.
With regards to the thought processes? Okay. That's all I was asking.
So your thinking is to utilize a portion of the same pipeline to get Martindale some water and county line?
No, not really. Just laying and doing, just trying to figure out some routes for all of it and getting it to where that. Well, I need to get with Richard too.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't got with him yet this week. I was out last week, so kind of move forward with that. So
Yeah, the only comment I had based off the agenda was it was called the county line, so make sure Martindale wasn't left out.
no, they're in. That's part of what I've been working on.
Martindale is very definitely part of the discussion. Okay. Thank you, David. Let's talk about some water development projects. We don't have anything new on Alliance. It was submitted to us. David, you want to comment briefly about what we know about segment E coming into the plant?
I know that they're working on getting ready to start doing some of the other construction. They've done our meter station back here. They've laid the line out across the backside of us. They got it ready to be tied in, so whenever they do get bore across the lake, they can come up here and tie it in on this end. I know that they're getting ready. I don't know if they started on anything over at 123 yet.
They haven't started anything, no. They're just taking equipment, survey, staking, things like that.
They called me last week.
Close, but every week it's a week behind, so.
Yeah, they called me last week on that for doing the bore and stuff. And I sent them an email back, but I haven't heard anything else on that. And I haven't been over this week yet, so it's kind of where we're at on that. But they're moving forward with it, getting it here. We still have to do the the stuff inside the tank 4 back here for the tie-in. That hasn't been done yet, but the parts are all set back here.
Thank you. Next on the master plan, we received the final master plan report, which I have a few copies here. I sent those out to all the entities that are affected by this report on the Mid-Cities Pipeline and Lake Dunlap Wells Ranch system. If you want a copy of it, there's a copy here available for you. So that's completed. Jason, I know you're here from Tri-Hydro. Jason, is there anything that you would like to comment on or add regarding that report? Feel free to come up.
Yeah, no, I'd just add that if there are any comments or questions, just let us know and definitely incorporate it.
I know that the report is based on population projections, which are always in flux. I would say that there are 2 basic scenarios in the report that look at adding additional lines or replacing lines, and they have different costs. That's kind of the conclusion section of the report. I encourage you to look at those as a point of information.
And John, I will comment on that. This, I know projections have changed, but generally the recommended improvements should not be affected by any projection changes. And this is a document that will need to be occasionally updated.
So if population increases faster or slower, that can change the timing of when these things happen.
Of course.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Next, let's talk a little bit about Wells Ranch 3. We're continuing to pursue leasing and the permitting in Guadalupe County. We think we have an opportunity to pick up 500 acre feet. I don't know if that's going to bear fruit or not, but we're pursuing that right now. And Gonzales County, as you may know, we've had our first hearing before the board of directors of the Broward District. And there were a number of folks that made statements of opposition. So the board decided to make it a contested case. We'll have a contested case to it and assign a judge, the same one for assigned for GRWA to the next hearing to determine the standing in that case. And, the objectors are the same ones pretty much that GRWA has had. So that's where we're at. That's an application for 928 feet.
This is just to amend the permit, is that correct? Not for a new one?
It's just an amendment to the permit. That's correct. For 928 feet. We'll work through that process as time goes on. I have no idea how much time that's going to take at this point. Next, we have a conceptual engineering plan update from Tri-Hydro. We're expecting a report by mid-October. Is that correct, Jason?
Yes, and our goal is to get that prior to October 13th.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions on that?
Yeah, when Canyon Regional overpumped their permit, did that come into play in some of the contested case hearing requests?
Not really.
Not really.
No, it's really mostly crowded just because of one export water out of the county.
Okay. That wasn't brought up. Wasn't brought up.
Yes. Next, let's talk about the draft water supply and treatment contract agreement. We've got a meeting coming up next week with bond counsel, legal counsel, and our financial people to talk about that a little further in terms of what the language needs to be in the Wells Ranch 3 contract to address some of the issues that we've been facing with the Hayes Caldwell contract. So that's coming up. I don't have anything else to report on that yet. Any questions from anybody? Okay. On water supply and treatment costs, Joe, you want to talk about
the contract with New Gen on the lending.
So on the first item for the Lake Donut Wells Ranch, it was this, the budget committee, because of the fact that our water contracts out of basin, in basin, that kind of thing, and trying to decipher talks from rocks, whatever the case may be. We have signed a contract with New Gen to do a blended fixed rate of both Lake Donut and Wells Ranch. I did some calculations. Chris with New Gen is looking at that. I believe he started on it. He's asked for a copy of our fiscal year 2024 budget. And then on the Hayes Caldwell, a rate methodology for entities that go over their exceeded annual allotment amount. He's gotten information from me, so I know that he's currently working on that also. So he is getting information from me.
So that one is just basically updating the work he already did, correct?
Basically, and he's gonna, actually, he and I talked about it, and because of the fact that the raw water cost for Hayes Caldwell is different for each entity, and he's gonna dive into that a little bit more and see if that makes any changes or whatever the case may be.
Okay, was the fall rental included? And I don't believe it was included in the first analysis.
I don't know what
I just want to make sure that lease payment's included.
I'm sure he's gonna look at all of those costs.
Okay.
And if he doesn't, then I will bring it to his attention.
Okay.
But,
You're speaking of item B here.
I'm sorry?
You're speaking of item 10B.
Yes.
Yeah, so I signed that agreement with New Gen last week, and so presumably they're starting to work on it, and we'll present it to the Board of Trustees for ratification.
So I got a question on B for on B, because I know we're talking about B. What's the schedule for him to complete this?
I don't know.
You said it would take about a month.
Is there any way to get it fast? So the month would be at the end of October, or is it?
Probably.
Probably prior, sooner than that. I know he's requesting information as far as usage and those kind of things.
So just to give you a little background, we updated our analysis from 23 on the 23 budget and what the cost adjustment might be. As you recall, that came to 325. The update came to about 335. We provided that information to New Gen. We're going to do a deep dive into the whole analysis, because in the analysis that we did on it, we're treating everybody equally. And in fact, it's probably not totally correct. So that deep dive will look at the nuances of everybody's rate of participation, including the ball track and so forth. We hope to get back hopefully a satisfactory analysis for everybody to take a look at.
And also a comment was made that we had a previous contract with them, and we had met or paid them what the previous contract was, so that's what we did another one. Another contract.
So just to be clear, you signed the contract last week, and a month would be sometime the week of October 16th through the 20th. So we should suspect or anticipate some type of work to be completed by then. Okay, let's do.
Any other questions on that? So on item 11, I don't know exactly what date the next meeting will be at. What's in October? What is the? No, I guess it would be if we're going to switch with the construction committee in the future. That's going to be in November with the construction. Probably be the first Tuesday in November would be the next board managers meeting if we do that switch. Does that make sense?
Is that something the board of trustees have to approve if we do it ourselves?
I don't believe so. That's a good question. But it's my understanding they don't have to.
I wouldn't say so, it's not.
Yeah, it's not in the bylaws or anything like that.
Randy, what are your thoughts on that? I know you've been outspoken about switching.
Well, yeah, and
we switched those two out, but we addressed some of that in that policy committee.
Yes, we did, that's right, we did.
I'd like to bring up some items, because it clearly states item 11, Board of Trustees meeting, or items not being the Board of Managers. So with regards to the Board of Trustees, or with regards to this group first, I do know there's an Assistant General Manager solicitation out there. The question I have is, what's the update on that? Is there, what's the schedule, what are we looking at with regards to looking at applications and filling that position?
The position has been advertised, along with the position for project engineer. They've been advertised, it's gone to, I think, Indeed, is that right? No, the Texas Rural Water Association as well.
AWWA, LinkedIn, Texas
LinkedIn,
Water,
excuse me.
our website.
So the positions are available on the website. Just go to our website, you can see the job descriptions for them. If we don't get much feedback in the very near future, I will be probably recommending to the Board of Trustees that they go get a headhunter to help us with this. Because we're not getting a lot of...
Have you received any qualified applicants?
Qualified? No.
Okay.
We have received one application or resume, if you will, not qualified.
So I guess, for this group, again, we're like a clearinghouse. We help support the board and the activities of this organization, Canyon Region. What I would recommend is that we go with what John stated, that we possibly at the next Board of Trustees meeting authorize, acting by term, a headhunter, I'd like to say firm, to help us solicit an assistant general manager. Because clearly this committee can make recommendations to the board. That would be one recommendation I would make, so we can expedite this process. Because clearly, I'm not sure how long it's been on the streets. I'm assuming, I think I know the board approved it maybe about 2 months ago. There was an executive committee meeting that was held not this last month, the previous month. So that would be 2 months, or a month and a half. Lack of a better time. So my recommendation for this group is that we recommend that to the board that they seek a firm to help us find an assistant general manager. I'm asking for y'all's support. It expedites the process. We don't wait another couple of weeks. We go out there. Next meeting for the board is in October 11th. It's done. We're close to the board taking it up. And the board certainly would take this recommendation and consider it. I sit on the board. Mr. Schwinn, you sit on the board as well. Certainly everything that's recommended comes to the board and there's discussion and thought process. I think that helps us move faster with this, at least for the assistant general manager.
Well, I think probably what I looked at first is, let's see how much enthusiasm we got from out there. And you can say, like, wait until the last minute, and if we haven't got enough or any qualified people in, then we'll go ahead and go to the trustee and see about hiring a headhunter. But just for right now, I say let's just see what happens.
Well, I think it's been posted for 3 weeks. When I got the notification from CRWA, so if we wait, the Board of Trustees is another 2 weeks, right? So that'll be 5 weeks that it's been out there, and if there's no qualified candidates in 5 weeks.
Yeah, and then we'll just put it on trustees and have
That agenda for the October
Yeah.
meeting, yeah, okay.
Randy, I've had some preliminary discussions with Brandon Rohan on that subject a little while ago, and he's agreed with me that we should probably advertise. We'll take it up with the Board of Trustees. So I'll work those suggestions consistent with our prior discussion.
Okay.
And it's okay.
Yeah.
It's going to be a trustee directed, obviously.
Yeah, so that's fine.
Another recommendation I'd like to make from this board to the Board of Trustees, I'm looking for support on this, is that when we have that assistant general manager and there is a selection committee, I'm assuming there's a selection committee for the assistant general manager, simply because many of you have done this, I know Green Valley have done this, The successor of the general manager, the assistant general manager, is basically respond to the board. The board's going to be in charge of this person. There should be a committee of the board to go to the selection committee. I wasn't part of those discussions in executive session when this whole item was brought up. So what I'm asking for is that there be some consideration that when the assistant general manager application process starts, or, when we look for someone to fill it, that there be a committee of the board of trustees, and that committee can be the executive committee. I really have no problem about that. But what I'm asking for is that 2 representatives from the board of managers be part of that committee. The reason I'm bringing that up is the board of managers interacts more on a daily basis, if you will, this is like a better term, with the general manager, as opposed to some of these board members who don't interact with the general manager. So I'm looking for support for that recommendation, and that, again, the selection committee that's going to be formed will be comprised of board of trustees and 2 board of managers from the board of managers to sit on this committee. And more importantly, those board of managers are not part of the board. So that way, we have some buy-in from the board of managers as to who we select as assistant general manager who's going to succeed the general manager. Now, right off the bat, I would throw 2 names out there. Who would those 2 people be? Obviously, it can't be someone on the board of trustees. I would throw Justin's name out there to represent the Hayes area, and I would throw Pat Allen's name out to represent Lake Donna and Rose Ranch. These gentlemen are not on the board of trustees. They've got vested interest. They work on a, lack of a better term, daily basis with the general manager. And so it's imperative that we get some buy-in from the board of managers. So again, I'm asking for some consideration and some moving this forward. If not, I'll bring it up to the board of trustees. I think this is important.
Well, as far as, and I don't really have a big problem with your suggestion, but the committees are set up by the executive part, so whatever they want to do, I mean, that's...
Committees are determined by the president of the board of trustees.
Yeah. So, and that's fine, I don't have a problem with what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm aware that the committees are set up by the, and I said, whoever the board of trustees want to set up the committee. All I'm asking for is consideration from this board. And the reason I'm bringing this up, we've been told by many that this board is inactive. This board needs some buy-in. This board needs a voice. And I think we have voices there. And I think it's imperative that we are considering, if we can consider the successor, that we get input, at least from this board.
No, that's fine. I mean, I don't have a problem with what you're saying. And like you say, a lot of the interaction is with the managers.
Yes.
And so there's no problem with what you're saying. But like I say, the committees, the executive committees, the ones that set up the committee.
So typically how we've done this, we make recommendations to the board, whatever recommendations we want. And typically someone representing this group would come up and say, here's a recommendation from the board of managers. So I would ask either one of us be there to say this is a recommendation to the board. I don't know how you would cover it, because typically there was an item from the board of managers to the board of trustees. And I would ask whomever that person is to speak on these 2 items and ask if we are supporting the logic to move with a firm, and we are supporting the placement of 2 board of managers and possibly those names to sit on this selection committee, and let the board decide whether they want to accept or deny it.
I have a question. John, is there a precedent to where members of the board of managers have sat on any committee of the board of trustees?
Not to my knowledge.
Yes, there is.
Yeah, I'm on the
Construction.
construction committee.
Yes.
Okay, so there is a precedent for that.
Yes.
Well, yeah, what Brandon is trying to get to is that the board, the construction committee comprised ultimately by members of the trustees.
I don't think that's the state. True statement.
That's a statement that he's made to me.
But to answer your question, yes, there was precedent. There was reasoning behind that, because they wanted buy-in from the group, I think it's called the group.
That's a good question, but thank you.
Yeah. My only concern with your suggestion is committees staying in their respective lanes. I mean, there's maybe some discussions that maybe managers don't need to be privy to. I mean, to keep independence. There's just some things that come to mind, that kind of thing. But it's more to discuss, but my first inclination is we need to be careful of that.
No, I agree with you, but there's also committees for selecting contractors. Some of the board managers sit for the technical expertise or imperative for
That's different.
You know, but we also have board of trustees there. But with regards to construction, same process. We have board of managers sitting in construction, because the whole thought process was we need inclusion from that side with regards to these projects, which we're talking about, which are $1 million projects.
Technical expertise is different from managerial. That's just my, and when it comes to selection at least, of leadership personnel, two different answers. But that's just my opinion. I mean, it's not, we're not deciding this today, you know, just my opinion.
Well, I think we have to have some discussion today. You know, Kate, what are your thoughts? I mean, it only makes sense that we have, you know, we're going to move the recommendation that come from this group consensus-wise. If there's no consensus, you know, then I guess we take a vote. But I think this is a particular item that's imperative. Because again, the logic here is these general managers of these organizations tend to interact directly with the general manager.
True, but this would have been on the next meeting anyway. So,
No,
is that what you
it's actually an item for the board of trustees as well. If you look at item number.
I will take your suggestion to executive agreement, just so that you know, the agenda for the board of trustees meetings is set by the general manager and the president of the board of trustees.
Again, I'm not asking for suggestions to be taken. I'm asking for recommendations from this group. So far, we have a recommendation that was accepted by Mr. Schwinn. I'm asking for that first recommendation to be accepted and be presented to the board of trustees, which is looking for a firm to do that. The second one, which we can do based on what we've done in the past, is make recommendations that will be put on the board of trustees agenda. And I'm asking for support. If I don't get support, that's fine. I will bring this up as a board member of the board of trustees. And I would directly ask for input from the board of managers, because I think it's imperative that the board of managers be part of this process. And I think I have confidence in the board of managers, because we have boards ourselves, and we have stuff that's taken in executive session which is not privy to the public. So there's no reasoning why this can't be moved forward. And if you choose not to, and I'm not hearing anyone say yea or nay, you know, Kate, I don't know what your thought process is, but I'd love to hear what you think. If it's doable, if it's not doable, that's fine. You know, I just think it's imperative. But again, keep in mind, this will be coming up at the board of trustees, as I'm a board member of the board of trustees as well.
I personally don't have any opposition to selecting somebody from the board of managers if that's what's decided. The only question that I have directly is what drives the need for an AGM in the first place? Or what is driving the need for an AGM?
So I'm going to defer and probably not answer that. That was something that was discussed in executive session 2 meetings ago. And I'm not going to ask Mr. Schwinn to speak on it, but I guess that's executive session issues.
Not to speak on that. Kate, you're asking a very good question. I think there's only one member of the board of trustees in here who was in the executive committee meeting, but they are sworn to secrecy. All I know is that when the board came out of executive session, I was directed to begin the advertising for assistant general manager. I had already prepared the job description for that position as well as the assistant for the project engineer position, which had been reviewed internally by executive committee, members of the executive committee. So I was ready for that. But I don't think there's anybody here that can discuss the reasoning behind it. That's all I can say at this point in time.
I can tell you the agenda item they went in under executive session was a succession plan. And that's the action that came out of executive session.
Just succession plan?
From an objective succession planning perspective, Justin's correct. That's not uncommon. It's very common for folks to have an assistant general manager. I think even Green Valley's got one. Correct? Green Valley's got an assistant general manager. So it's not uncommon. It's probably appropriate.
So you would be fine with it in a way.
Honestly, I don't know if I have enough information to lean one way or the other.
That's fine. I respect that. Justin, what's your take on this?
I agree with you that managers do deal with the general manager here for the most part on a daily basis, if not, not a daily basis, but weekly, bi-weekly basis. I appreciate you nominating me for that. I don't. If this board decides to make that recommendation, I would accept. But if anybody else wants to do it, I do think it's a good idea to have somebody from the Hayes Caldwell, if that's the route to go, from the Hayes Caldwell side and this southern side of the system. I do remember the conversations many times with Brandon's his feeling towards the lack of need for this board if there's nothing that comes from it. So I think, if this board continues and it's utilized like it should be, especially with the new bylaws that Randy and that group has been working on, and it's moved to a time frame where that stuff can be done, and there's, I think, it mentioned appointing a chairman of that board to report to the chairman of this board to report those recommendations to the board of trustees. I don't see any reason why, but it's got to be consensus, you said?
Well, my hope is, we've always operated on consensus. So my hope is that there's, we'll go for the first motion or the first recommendation, second, but yes, it's got to be consensus. We can't, I would not want to take a vote because it doesn't make any sense. If we all agree, that's typically how we have operated this group. If we all agree, Mr. Davenport, we all agree this is a good idea. This is a recommendation. This is a recommendation, a good idea. Yes, we'll bring it to the board of trustees.
I think if it's truly succession planning, and the plan is for this new assistant general manager to potentially take over as the general manager at some point, there's nothing that could prevent a committee without trustees on it. So my recommendation would be I have no problem with you making this recommendation on my behalf, but you have that right too as a trustee as well, if you don't get the support of the board members.
Pat, what's your take?
Well, I think, hiring someone is a process. It's almost like selling a piece of property. First, you got to see what you're selling, see what the requirements are, about how the advertisement is written. Is going to determine how much response you get. That's the first thing. Green Valley did this twice with the first group of guys we got, and some of them were very qualified, but I didn't like them. They weren't a fit. They were the type of people that point and direct and didn't work. Well, these kind of entities around here are working people, and they have to be that fit. So you got to be really careful what you ask for. You can advertise all over the place and not get what you want. But that's a process, and sometimes if you don't get a response, sometimes you have to look what you're asking for and maybe tweak it a little bit one way or the other. Maybe your requirements are too high or not high enough. Maybe the wages you want to pay are not going to fit on what your advertising rate, salary range you want. But I haven't seen the answer. I don't even know what I'm talking about. But
It's a sin that you make.
okay, well, that's not enough. I can tell you that right now. So I got guys, entities, a third of my size are making 20 grand more than I do. So don't go by my side. Anyway, I don't think it's something that is to be argued about because this is trustee driven. It's not board of manager driven. The board of trustees govern. Managers operate. They make it happen. And so if the trustees, and you are a trustee, are you a trustee? No,
No, sir.
But you are, Randy, right? We got two trustees sitting in the room. And we have trustees that are board of managers and as well as trustees. And so if there's strong feelings on that, yes, hire someone is a process, then let's get that established. But it doesn't have to come from the board of managers. It's already at the trustee level because that's where we get our direction from. And that's where it needs to come from. So Alberto, Mark, Randy, either one of y'all, if y'all feel strongly about that. I would think someone's already given that some thought. I'm surprised Tim Booth had already said, okay, what's next? We got to advertise, let's get prepared, guys, let's get these applications in. Who's going to look at them? That's part of that process. So now we've got to establish that group or committee or folks to do a review. And by God, they better pick the right one, right? So, like I said, we did it twice because the first round of guys we went through, it didn't really fit the bill. So it took us a year and a half. And we used a headhunter. And pretty much after using the headhunter, I still shoved it out there in other areas that I knew of. Whether it worked or not, I don't know, but we spent a lot of money on headhunters. And we got the job done, but we had to do it 2 times, so we had to tweak the advertising. We made a brochure and everything, and stuck it out there, and all those kind of things, and that looked nice, and we got a lot of reaction, but as an important position that is, it needs to be done seriously. And there can't be any favoritism. You gotta be very focused and open-minded. And that was my opinion. Sorry guys, but I think we got enough trustee power in the room here that y'all bring it up to trustees meetings. Hey, what's our process?
And if that's what we,
Or maybe establish a committee, request the president establish a committee to define that process and bring it back.
yeah.
I think you have time.
I appreciate that, because you at one point were the leader of this board of managers, and you would bring recommendations, you would attend those meetings, and you'd speak on behalf of the board of managers with regards to recommendations. So I appreciate that. I guess what I'm asking for is that, again, to duplicate and to reiterate and to say it again, this group is being looked upon by others, specifically bragging for us to be more active. And by supporting what has already been discussed with the firm, it is basically that. We know it's going to be recommended to the board, and all we're saying is we support that recommendation to that. Makes sense to us. The other one is, again, something that comes from this group, which is a recommendation that the board can either consider or not consider. And so that's all I'm saying. And so if it pleases everyone, because we went around the room, I'd like for us to consider, based on consensus, whether the first recommendation to look at moving forward with the firm, to recommend what's being done, to support what's being done, is what we want to do. It's the first item. So I would say, yeah, it makes sense to me. What say you, Randy?
Well, it's like I said, let's just kind of, John knows what we want, as far as manager, committee and all of that. And he'll take the recommendation to Tim, and then there can be a decision, because he makes the appointments anyway, and they have to put it on the agenda. So it's, up to Tim and John and the other executive committee to put anything on the agenda, even though we totally agree with what you're saying. He still needs, they're the ones who put it on the agenda.
Based on what I'm saying, you say you're not making a recommendation, you wouldn't support it. I wouldn't say you wouldn't support it, you just don't feel the recommendation should come from this group. That's what you're saying.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
that's fine.
That's what I'm saying.
You say we talked about it, board of managers, we all feel, or give you a committee or some direction on a selection committee. I mean, they've done that before.
Yeah.
So Pat, since you have the mic, so what do you say about the first one? About a firm moving forward? Do you support or would you rather just let the board of trustees deal with it and move with what they want?
I think the board of trustees need to tell us what they want to do.
Okay. So
I support what you're saying, Roberto, don't get that wrong. But I don't think it needs to be a recommendation from the board of managers. Trustees need to realize that and make that decision on their own. If they're being trustees, they need to be engaged and say, hey guys, what are we doing here?
okay. So
But but the board of trustees also have to have the funding for it and approve the funding. So
For the headhunter, yeah.
Yeah.
Cost 40, 50 grand.
yeah,
okay. So based on what I'm hearing now, there's actually consensus already too saying, so that one's thrown out. The first one. Based on what I'm hearing now, there's not any consensus. There's not going to be an agreement amongst this group to move
Well,
everything
we
forward.
can have consensus and we take it to the trustees and give them our recommendation, and it's up to them to do what they do, but we have to give the recommendation to the committee, the executive committee, to put it on the agenda.
Well,
And that's,
the way it would look right now, and coming from the comments you said that we're being viewed as we're not effective. Well, we've got 4 of us in the room right now, so is that a consensus of the board managers? Or is that just a handful of board managers suggesting we do this? If it's consistent, then it's consistent of the group. We got, and of course we're co-mingling, we got to remember, we got board of managers, the board of managers are also trustees, so we're already conflicted, not conflicted, but there's no separation between that consistency. Doesn't mean anything coming from a 4 of the board of managers going to the trustees, and those in attendance at the board of managers meeting are trustees. So what I'm saying, 2 of you are trustees. Y'all raise your hand and say, hey, we have some thoughts we'd like to express here, or some suggestions. What are we going to do with the applications, with the applicants? Can we establish a committee? And I'm sure the trustees around the table say, hey, Joe, what do you think? Kind of go from there. That's kind of how it happens in my board, or should happen in my board. Sometimes it doesn't.
So, one thing, so we've been going 30 minutes on this back and forth.
Yeah, no.
To answer your question, Beto, I do not support the managers inserting themselves into a board of trustee process. I think we should let that go. Their direction comes down, we deal. And putting aside parliamentary issues or trying to hold votes or anything else here, because this item here to me says items for next meeting. So I think we should just stick to that. Let the board of trustees do what they're going to do. You're on there, you can bring up, God bless, do what you want to do. But for us here, I think we should just let it be and let the process work out. That's just my piece.
Okay, Okay, and I apologize for taking long, but Nancy, some of this is important. Some of us, we are considering $21 million in debt is very important to us.
Got it. I got 25 million too. I mean, I understand the importance, but I don't think this is our lane right now.
We're on item number 11, which is recommendations to the Board of Trustees.
Right, for next meeting. Yeah, not discussing.
For the next Board of Trustees.
Right, but not discussing it in depth here.
But I appreciate what you're saying. I just want to get clearly there's some dissension, so I don't see this moving forward. I just want to say, and I agree with you, Pat. You brought up an important issue. And I think this needs to be addressed with some kind of bylaws. But at what point does this committee make recommendations? Is there a majority, is a supermajority of the board of managers? At what point do we do that?
I think we need to have a separate meeting for that topic, but we have everybody here.
And that's fine. I'm just saying, but you bring up a good point, and I never thought about
But
it.
that's not the only fair thing to do with all of us present.
No, I agree with you, and I appreciate that, because I didn't think about that. But, so lack of interest, I'm fine with it not being recommended from this board. It will be discussed with the board of trustees and a trustee level. And if I throw out the name board of managers, shoot me now, but that name will come out. So appreciate your comments. I appreciate your input. But other than that, I have no other items to discuss.
Okay, thank you. Any announcements?